ForexiaPro.com. Thank you guys for tuning in to this video brought to you by Forex Investors Alliance. Today's video is going to be about how the dealer casts spells on retail traders. Now, when I say casting a spell, you might think of the dude in this thumbnail reaching out with a wooden wand, saying a magic word, and suddenly making a beam of light shoot out of his wooden wand, right? That is not what a spell is. That's what we've been programmed to believe a spell is, but what spelling really is what we've been taught since first, second, third grade. We were all taught how to spell. We've all been taught spelling. That was a class we learned in school. Okay? To go further into this, you wouldn't understand what I'm talking about right now had you not learned the program or the spell that we call the English language. Now, there are a lot of different programs or underlying spells, be it English, Spanish, Japanese, lots of different ones. To get a better understanding of how spelling works, we're going to go into the science of neuro-linguistic programming. Now, neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, is basically the science of language, or not even just language, but it's a underlying program, an underlying programming. So, for example, hypnotists have clients that come in to stop smoking. For example, it's a really bad habit and they want to have their smoking habit disappear. What the client must do is attach the feeling of the client smoking and enjoying a cigarette, the smoke of the cigarette. He must manifest within the client that feeling, that emotion that he gets when he smokes the cigarette. Then, what the hypnotist does is swaps the two feelings out. Swaps one feeling, the feeling of joy and pleasure when smoking the cigarette, with a feeling of disgust. So basically how the hypnotist does this is takes the client and generates feelings of pleasure when smoking the cigarette. Then he tells the client to generate a nightmare or a horrible, horrible scenario that would happen to him if he kept smoking for the rest of his life. Started thinking about generating all these different feelings of, his teeth are going to fall out, and what would it be like if your daughter didn't have a father because he died of lung cancer, and all these horrible feelings were generated in the client. And then what the hypnotist does is puts the client in a trance and swaps the two feelings. So when the client pulls out a cigarette, the next time he goes to smoke a cigarette, instead of having the feeling of pleasure, the feeling of pain and agony will come to him, and the same feelings will be generated when that were generated at the hypnotist's office when he put him into the trance and had him think about all the horrible things that would happen if he continued smoking for the rest of his life. Now, this is just an example of neuro-linguistic programming and how certain feelings can be programmed to anything, okay? A really good example of this is branding and logos. If I say the double arches, yellow double arches, what are you thinking about? McDonald's, right? If I say the golden arches or something like that, you're going to think about McDonald's. If you see the golden arches, what are you going to think about? McDonald's. If you see, basically what I'm trying to say is these big companies know that if they can create an image, and it can be anything, okay? It can be an image, it can be a color, it can be a word, it can be anything, okay? Anything that has to do with your five senses and that can trigger your five senses. That's all it is. That's what neuro-linguistic programming is. Now, anything that can trigger your five senses can be programmed to a trigger that sets off a certain reaction within you, the person that was put the spell on. Okay, for example, when I say car, that triggers in your mind the picture of a car. Or if I say don't think of an elephant, you're thinking of an elephant, okay? So to go more in depth on how these structures or how spells work, I'm going to just go into this short little video, 2-minute video, so you guys can understand the English language and how there is a literal spell inside, written within the coding of the English language that many people don't even see. And it's like when you go into your fridge and look for the ketchup and it's right in the door and you're looking right at it but you can't see it because you're so focused on finding the ketchup and it's right in front of you that your subconscious just blocks it out completely. That's basically what's happening here. It's the truth, or the truth is hidden in plain sight so that you can't see it.
We awake each morning and go off during the weekdays to earn up the living at various jobs and undertakings until we come to the weekend. And this seems perfectly acceptable to most people. However, more people die between 6 and 9 on a Monday morning than any other time of the week. So I do what I call a translation of the English language, and I spell that Trance, with the idea that words cast spells. So when you translate that life sentence, you remember that awake is a funeral party for the dead. Mourning is the state you're in when you attend a wake. And you would have to be in a weekdays to earn the living, since urns are for the ashes of the dead. We call our jobs undertakings. Job itself is a Hebrew word for persecuted. And what we get at the end of this perverse bargain with life is the weak end of the deal, as we become progressively weakened ourselves. And so our most prevalent greeting to each other is hello, the reverse of which is oh hell. And at first, I suspected the hands of collusion entangling the language to foster illusion. And I think it's quite true that a culture's theology has a great deal to do with a word's etymology and how it evolves over time to combine incompatible meanings that may undermine the original thoughts it was meant to define. But now, I don't think it's planned, for the thing that I've found is that like concepts can gravitate toward the same sound and vibrate at the rate that our thoughts designate. Because words are electromagnetic vibrations whose fine alphabetic tintinnabulations can take on the tint of our true expectations, which they then imprint on our metal of mind, causing sounds to adhere when they're of the same kind.
Alright, that last part there was a little bit of a mindful, but you get the point. These words are hidden in plain sight, and we can't really even see them. We don't understand the meaning of them because they're used so they have different meanings, okay? Or, for example, they said an earning. Well, an earn, when you earn, you can spell it earn, E-A-R-N, or U-R-N, but it's still earn. Earn. It's the earn. It's the sound that counts. It's not the how you write it that matters. It's the sound. So if you want to understand a little bit more about neuro-linguistic programming, check out Darren Brown. This guy is absolutely insane, some of the stuff he does. But anyway, ForexiaPro.com. This is our paid member advanced education. And I want to start this off by saying the most valuable currency in this world is the truth. Now, we're just going to go peek at this. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an insight at the advanced education here on ForexiaPro.com. Not too much, but you'll get an understanding. I saved this for just members that bought the advanced education, but now I am releasing it because I feel that this is something that people need to understand, and it can benefit them tremendously once they understand it. So, the structure of a trauma-based market. The market maker's main goal is to make money. He will do this by any means necessary, even if this means mimicking the emotional response structure of a catastrophic disaster. Yes, this is the game they have played on us. By entering the market, we have submitted ourselves into an emotional battlefield, and I can prove it. So, we've all seen Head and Shoulders right here. These two charts can be found ICTG.org, Institute for Congregational Trauma and Growth. So, this is where I found these images, you guys. Do these look familiar? Come on. Asian session, breakout Asian session, London session reversal, New York session, Head and Shoulders, come back to the exact place that they started Asian session. Okay? That happens every freaking day, just about. Here we can see it on a 4-hour time frame. Let's go back to ICTG.org. Now, there are a few different phases, but this is basically how they depict this what a human will go through when they're experiencing a disaster or grief. Now, this can happen on a micro or a macro, 1 to 3 days or 1 to 3 years. This structure by itself has no meaning, okay? This structure by itself has no meaning. This is super important to understand. Why? This is why people can make millions and billions of dollars in a demo account and then start a live account and blow their account a day later. Because this itself has no meaning unless you connect a something of meaning to it. So, what is that something of meaning that is connected to this structure? It is money, you guys. It is the currency that we are trading. Okay, it's the money that we want to make from the market. And when this structure is mixed with something of value, it generates this response inside of us, this emotional response. So just like when I said, when you say the word car, it generates an image in your mind of the word car, right? Well, when you are trading and the dealer creates this pattern and you're trading for something that has a meaning like money, that's the feeling that's going to be generated inside of you. A feeling of disaster or chaos. Okay? This is the response that will happen. The pre-disaster, the impact, honeymoon, disillusionment, and the reconstruction. Now, this is how it's said in these terms. We could say it in market terms. Asian session, fake out low, break to the high. London session, reversal. New York session, head and shoulders, reverse back to where they started Asian session to do it all over the next day. Okay, you get what I'm pointing at here. So, what does this have to do with trading? Okay, how can we benefit from this? Or how have we been programmed our entire lives to react to this stimuli? Because believe it or not, every single time that you read a book, every single time that you watch a movie, every time you watch a TV episode, or read a newspaper article, anything like that, this is all the same structure, you guys, and I'll prove it here. The standard structure of a story. I found this on Google Images. The introduction, complication, middle, the climax, and then they go back to the where it started. Tension and duration. Beginning, middle, end. These are the structures of a story. We have the crisis, and then there's the climax. This is the first leg of the M, second leg M, breakout, fake out to the high, and then drop it. Here's another one, the structure of a story. Time versus tension. Beginning, middle, end, and we have the crisis. 3 levels or actually there's the lower level, and then the 3 levels, and then the peak, which is here the climax, and then it falls, right? So here is the Star Wars tension versus time, Obi-Wan Kenobi, W formation. We have the trend going up, and then the pump and dump scenario. So this is all, what does this do, you guys? This is all to generate an emotion inside of us, because that's what we like. That's what we addict to. That's what movies are created for. That's what books are for. That's what stories are for, to create an emotional response inside of us. So here's a perfect example of the market, but this is a TV episode, right? We have the individual smaller trends within maybe a 4-hour time frame. We have the micro within the macro, and each basically, or you could see this as the market basically consolidating and then ending up where it started at Asian session, from the beginning of Asian session to the end of Asian session. Each episode, I guess to understand this better, each episode of a TV movie or episode has to start off with intention, okay, to get you to want to keep watching. And so does the ending of the movie. Or the episode, to get you to want to watch the next episode, right? It ends in a tension so that you want to watch the next episode. That's the same thing with the market. The market begins in consolidation, Asian session, then goes back Asian session and ends in consolidation once again, so that it can keep orders in one specific place. So here could be the consolidation Asian session, and then the whipsaw New York and London session, consolidation, whipsaw, and that's how the trends are created. That's a really good example here. Now, this is where it gets really cool, you guys. I found this on Google once again. Here is the beginning, the middle, and the end. This is all movies, all structures of stories. They all are determined by this one basic structure. Okay, to generate an emotional response within the human, this is the structure that is used most frequently. This structure and this one and this one, even though these are really basically the same. So here it is. We have the status quo, basically Asian session comes up, London session, and then there's the M formation, second leg M, where the dealer seizes the prize. That's funny. I didn't even make these, guys. I just found these on Google. The dealer seizes the prize and then drops it. As soon as there's enough liquidity in that second leg, drops price. Rapidly falling price action. How's that any different, you guys? Okay, new status quo, new status quo. It ends in the same place that it begins, and I'll show you this happens almost every single time. Here it is once again, charted out on the market. Beginning, middle, end. Status quo, something happens, there's a breakout. The dealer commits to his goal of creating that uptrend. for 2.5 days. The rising action, another breakout. These breakouts to the upside will induce retail traders to buy at this level. There's the climax, the high of this day, right? And then the ending is the fake out, the fake break of that high, where the dealer seizes his prize and then drops it to the new status quo, which is in the just about the exact same price range as the status quo started in. Rapid falling action, the bank manipulation, like we said. So here it is once again on a without any lines charted or anything. So we can see this is really important, you guys, to understand the highs and the lows, because just trying to get this, just trying to trade the structure here, you'll fail every time if you don't understand the highs and the lows. So the blue markers represent the beginning and ending of the day, right? So this is one day, this is another day, this is another day. So this is the low of the day here, this is the high of the day here. This is the low of this day, this is the high of this day, and we can see the high of the day was made here, and then the next day the dealer came up, spiked to exactly to that high. He seized the prize. What happens here? See these two little tiny candlesticks? The wicks? They went to the exact point, maybe a little bit higher. Plus the spread opened up to grab any orders above that high that thought it was going to be a breakout. Plus this really big green candle induced a bunch of people to buy as well at the tippy top. And then you can see they seized the prize. Boom. Once again, the same thing with this day. It happened, this time it happened this same day. The high of the day was created here, and then the dealer came down, threw a wick to that high, and the spread, I guarantee you, it consumed any orders at this high right here. So, like I said, these structures occur in micro and macro form. So, here's the micro. We can see the consolidation, breakout to the low, come up, reversal, and then there's that little head and shoulders, come back to where it started, and then come back up, head and shoulders, and then go back to where it started, reversal, back to where it started. Same thing we can see here. It's the exact same thing, you guys. Oh my goodness, isn't that beautiful? Wow. So these also happen in fractal. Another word for this is basically fractal. This is a fractal. This smaller one is a fractal, a small fractal of this larger macro. Here's another example. A few patterns. A few examples of these variations or fractals. Very, very similar. That's all they have to do is create that whipsaw to generate those feelings inside the retail traders. And like I said, this happens on micro and macro. So this occurs on every time frame. This is the structure that they're trying to create on all time frames simultaneously. Obviously, they can't create them all at once, but they have to continuously create them on different time frames so that they keep generating the feelings of distress inside of you when you're trading, or at least amplifying the feeling of distress. Look at how perfect this one is. Perfect. So that was basically all I had to say for this video, you guys. The dealers are casting spells on you. Now you know what to look for. Now you know what the spell is. Now you can understand. Now you can have an understanding of what you have to look for, you guys. Okay? This happens on a daily and a weekly basis. Okay? Like I said, there are two main structures that occur here to generate these feelings inside of the retail traders. This chart, this structure, the inverse of it, and then the M or the W, which is just the inverse of the M. Here we can see, basically on a live chart here, the same thing happening. We have the status quo, and then we have that uptrend for about 4 days, basically the whole week in an uptrend. And then we can see the Sunday here is a small gap, and they did not, basically they created that high at the high of the week. This is the high of the week here, high of the previous week, and then here's the high of this week. That second leg, M, sees the prize. Anything above, any orders above that, the previous week and this week, got snatched right there. Snatch and grab, seize the prize, pump and dump. Same thing. Same thing happens. The status quo, they break out, induce the buy for a good week, about a week and a half, and then they dump it. These happen very, very frequently, you guys. So stay on the lookout. Hopefully this improves your trading. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like, subscribe, and also check out Forex community.online. Forex community.online, that is our chat room with thousands of members in it from all around the world, trading and sending their analysis. Together we can create an amazing community. So thank you guys for tuning in once again. Peace out.